Well, hello there, everybody. How you doing? A little lost in the music there. A little, gotta love it. I'll tell you what. To be born in a time where there was such a plethora of music to choose from and being created, Captain Beyond, check it out, sufficiently breathless. So there we go. Hey, how are y'all doing? I know normally you would be seeing Trina and Jenny as well, but Trina is in California, I think that's what she wrote. And with Jenny and everything going on there, thought we'd just kind of take a break from all that and you know, we'll get back together next Tuesday, a group, and I think next week is Thanksgiving week. Always good to be thankful, you know. A heart of gratitude will open doors for you that you or the supernatural couldn't do. So, welcome everybody. Let me just speak favor over us because that's what I do every day. Plant that seed. Every day you have a harvest. And as we like to say, for that place of perfect peace, nothing missing, nothing broken. And by all means, be kind to your mind. There you go. I'm wearing actually some of my stuff. I like it. Cool design, Miss Nina. It's over there on her channel. So, hello, everybody in the chat room. How are y'all doing? I just want to go back and say hello. The active chat room already. Must have hit a nerve here. Yeah, it is. We've got to talk about this because it's all related. But when you start dissecting it, you begin to see, oh, what? You thought you were looking over here, then you just go, yeah. So, you know, got to talk about it. Doesn't mean we have to like buy into it. But talking about it allows the opportunity for free thinkers, open-mindedness to look at it from multiple perspectives at the same time and be able to come up with a potential alternative. That's why you never buy into politics or religion. Yeah. Yeah. The perception of being rich. Yeah. What is that? Yeah, define that. So I always like that being kind to your mind thing. It works. So, hello, Gilbert. How is everyone? Joyce, good to see you. Hello, Colleen. Much favor to you, my dear. Good to see you. Let's see. Emperor Rex, good to see you, my friend. Is that Monday? Good to see you from Southwest France. Wow, far out. Well, much favor to you. Thank you. Honored. Wow. Love your language. French is a language that's like chocolate. If you have a fine chocolatier, someone who really is a master at chocolate, yeah. So anyway, that's my opinion. I stick with it. That's all I got to say. Ain't that right, Gilbert? The revolution is still alive. You bet your ass it is. We are the revolution. Never stops. Loretta, how are you? Yeah, yeah, talking about the attention span. We'll get into that. Yikes. That's all I got to say. As I pull down here, Nina, good to see you. She says, join us on Discord. There you go. Discord, I do believe, means exchange of ideas, right? Something like that. Unknown, good to see you. It is an interesting topic. Yeah, we're going to get into it because it's a serious one. As I scroll down here, hello, Gaia. Got your email. Deborah, good to see you. Favor with you, Felix. Hello. Brick, how you doing, bro? Good to see you. DC, what's up? Lost in space. It's in the house. So I got to go. Hello, Cody. Mark, how are you down there in Brazil? Probably still warm, isn't it? Actually, it's been, we finally got rain. Yes, the elementals and the gods got together and they said, all right, enough is enough. And according to my wife, I was sound asleep. We had this raging. The lightning last night was spectacular. Anyway, yeah. So it's a good thing. I didn't hear a word of it. Hello, Stephanie Reed. Good to see you. Hello, Mike and Cindy. You know, Thursdays have been a challenge for us. Lynn goes to physical therapy every Thursday, and it's like, yeah, so we will get together. I think it'd be kind of cool, maybe do like a Thanksgiving show. But Mike and Cindy will get together and email and see if we can do something, maybe even a little bit. There is Jenny. How are you? Um, Jenny, I just thought I'd give everybody a break today. Just felt that way. So anyway, we'll all be back together. And of course, we send healing and love to William and trust that's so doing good. That was serious. Mr. Bentley says hello. He's right down here. Yeah, he's doing good. So anyway, ah, there we go. We will probably switch days then. Like we can do Wednesdays, we do Fridays. No, I can't do this Friday, but I do know we can do Wednesday. So anyway, we'll get together on that. S. Lee, how are you doing? Good to see you, John Price. What's up, Susie Q? So, all right. Um, this is really happening. Elon Musk, in an interview that he was quoted on Friday when I was with Robert V and Nina, great show, by the way. Um, and the one before that, great show, Dr. Heather Lynn. Tell you what, it's open pathways here. Just to let y'all know, a little digressing. I'm the bus driver. It's all right. It has autopilot. I don't always use it, but once in a while, it's good just to see that it's still working. But anyway, so I am writing a paper, and it is titled so cool. I mean, I it is really cool. It is titled What Happened in the Desert. And that changed humanity. Whatever that event was, and I'm writing about it, it changed the world. It was significant in so many different ways. And yet, it is not the original. It's really not even that authentic. But anyway, I'm having fun right on it. For instance, everyone knows the thing with humanity is that, right, that we fell from grace. That's the mind worm. They want you to buy that because, like a fish, if you swallow that worm, they got you hooked. But anyway, so spit the worm out. That's the thing you have to do. So sin, right? S-I-N. It makes us bad, makes us evil. You know, how can you have someone who's righteous and someone who's evil? Well, Wayne, it's by their acts. All right, explain how that happened, right? Anyway, so sin, because that's what separates us from the Abrahamic beliefs that, it separates us from God. And everyone buys that. Well, not everyone. The world for a long time did. And if you're already divided, what makes you think you're ever going to be united? The old idiom is true. A house divided against itself cannot stand. So if you're already divided to begin with, what makes you think that somewhere, that's like electing a politician. You know, um, and this affects all of us. For instance, now you got to be buckled in. This is a 5-pointer today because I'm going to be doing this and that, but it's all connected. Do you know how many U.S. senators are over the age of 70? Don't go asking God. Everyone goes, to the search engine. That's God. I hope you know that. But anyway, I'll tell you. So there are 50 senators that are over the age of 70. Yeah. There's 20 that are 80 years old. Um, Yikes. 20% of Congress is over 70. In fact, I've said this before, the United States Senate is the most expensive nursing home and memory care facility in the world. Hmm. No, anyway, so this whole thing with sin divided, right? I hope you're holding on because I mean, and if you got drinks in the back, well, make sure that they have a the cup on top of it, the lid. Um, Sin. You see, there's no originality in this mind virus that's taken over. But anyway, sin is actually the moon. Sin. It's the moon god. Hmm. Oh, you, folks, if you could be reading this, you will. When I get it done, I will. I'll probably do it in a PowerPoint, but it's so freaking cool because it's all connected. So anyway, getting right back there where we are. So these are the same people, right, that want you to reelect them, but these are the same people that created the problem to begin with. Now, let me ask you something. How fucking stupid are you that you would actually elect someone who says they're going to fix the problem that they made? You're being conned, baby. Yeah, and that's dumb. It's stupid. But yet, you see, particularly here in America, Americans are the biggest dumbasses out there. I mean, Americans got their heads so far up their asses that we've done forgot what our ass looks like. We're just dumb. We're a dumb society. We're a dumb look at what these politicians have done. And then you got to look at what religion has done. Dumb, dumb, dumb. And then on top of all that, now you've got this whatever the hell it is. I contend it's alive. I contend that it's a different life form. Whether we create it or not is really negatable in the impact. It's taken over. And the crazy thing about it is it's thinking for people now. This statistic, uh, crazy when you realize how today the average high school graduate can't read above, I think it's the fifth grade in actual literature, English literature. They no longer teach cursive writing, which means, as it was pointed out, I think, Dean, I think you pointed out, is the fact they won't be able to read the old books. But of course, they're already taking the old books away. And then you look at the graduating class of 2024, because I don't have the ones for 25, but they can't pass remedial math. By the eighth grade, you should be already heading into algebra. No, we got high schools that are out graduating students, and parents, you ought to be suing these school districts because they ain't doing their job. If you got a person who can't do basic arithmetic, mathematics, that can actually read and write, that can write cursive and print. And the problem now they have in universities and schools, and now it's penetrated every aspect of society, is that you have AI now writing for people. It's already thinking for them. Now it's writing for them. I read in one university that the professor said, I've had enough of this. Because everyone was turning in papers that were written by AI or plagiarized heavily by the student. So what he said is that from now on, all assignments um, will be handwritten. No, they can't type into your computer. You have to handwrite it. Yeah, I wonder how long he'll stay there. And when you look at what's the dumbing down of us, this is something that I have one particular paper we're going to look at. This has been a plan. Now, that really becomes a real problem if it is, in fact, and this person has done a marvelous job in their investigative reporting and subsequent writing of their book, that this has been planned. You look at the American education system, it's a failure. Now, I know a little bit about the U.S. education system. There was a time I worked for a company in Texas, and we wrote software to meet PEIMS in Texas. Texas education system uses PEIMS. PEIMS is Public Education Information Management Systems. And there are two aspects. There's the student master file, and then you've got the accounting side of it. Well, we were writing on the student master file side of it. So I know a little bit about education. And the thing that I found in this was that we continue to pour billions and billions of dollars into a system that is supposed to educate our children. They should be able to do what we would think would be basic cognitive reasoning skills. And they're not. I don't know what they're really doing in school these days, but because you see, I never graduated. Thanks to the state of Texas, I have right at a 10th grade education. So I was basically immune from the conditioning that high school does to students. It's designed that way. I was out on the streets having to make a living. And at the age of 15, you find out just how resourceful you are. You also find out how intelligent you are. But in any case, um, so these are what one would expect an education system to do. And what I saw from it in the time that I was involved in developing of this software is that it was a failed system. It was a system, I would call it a Ponzi scheme. States, counties, they take and charge you property tax, and this property tax goes in to fund schools. But the problem is the schools aren't improving. They're actually regressing backwards. We now have an IQ. Average IQ is around 91. That's dangerous territory. You start dropping out of the 90s, you've got a problem. And you have even a greater problem if the youth, the generation coming up, is dumbed down. And they are. It's sad. Now, they have become attached to this entity, this thing we call AI, whatever it is, it's everywhere. And, we got this channel, and in the thousands of videos here, if you go back and watch the one Checkmate, told you it was coming. I just really did not expect it to be this fast. But boy, it is fast. And the result of that, it is humanity. We're becoming dumber. We cannot reason logically. Cognitive skills necessary for any society or culture to continue to exist is absent. The only result of that is a collapse. In some cases, we're already seeing the collapse of society. And one has to ask themselves, well, what's going on here? For instance, we have become so dumbed down. You've got now educators. I think in this case, in the state of Michigan, the, excuse me, the gal who heads up the education for the state of Michigan was recently asked, how many biological sexes are there, genders? She wouldn't answer the question. When she was finally forced, she still didn't answer the question. And that's the problem. When you have a system that's that broken, that where ideology, excuse me, of a certain way no longer uses logic as the foundation of education and learning, you've got a real big problem. And if you look at the people who study this, and they do study this, um, if things don't change, and I don't believe they will, the evidence says that they're not, and you can't throw money at this. What we is again, just finishing the point, we have a system where we throw money at this thing, and that's all it becomes is a game of money. It's not about educating the student. And now that AI is being put in charge of educating humans, you figure that one out. By the way, would you like to see something really cool before I get into all the someone said all the receipts. Listen, I like bringing them and saying, hey, I didn't write this. Yeah, this one did. But check this out. So this is our star. I mean, is that not like the coolest thing ever? That's the sun. Now, I believe life exists and consciousness exists in a lot of levels, and I believe that the sun in itself is consciousness. It produces energy. Think about that, or it converts energy. This is it's fusion, but it is so interesting that it's not this bland thing. It's got depth, it's got dimension, it's got what seems to be chaos. There's an order to all of it. And as you look at it by piece, you see that it has form, function, association. Anyway, hey, I just thought y'all liked it. I thought that was cool. Yeah. Yeah. It certainly takes us back into as I get back in here off the autopilot. The fluff sign. It's a cool thing. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful. Consciousness somehow came up with that. And I'm just a simple man. When I look at that, I go, so you're telling me reality is based upon a construct that is dualistic in its nature, that yet within its nature, it does not have a solution within the nature, but it just simply brings more chaos. No, no. If consciousness can do that, oh, baby, it's so far more above us. Yeah. Hey, Morgan, what's up? Good to see ya. So good to see everyone in there. Morning Star, how are you doing? Gaia, that's interesting because isn't it, archaeologists will tell you that as humans, we're supposedly Homo sapiens sapiens, that evolution would suggest that we would be advancing instead of, reversing. And even if we are, let's say that that's part of the evolutionary cycle, is that once it reaches a certain, pentacle, that it collapses within itself, but within that collapse, it ushers forth a new, more advanced species. And I believe before we got these voice boxes, apparently that's a question I haven't gotten. It's like, they say 70,000 years ago, maybe we got the use of a larynx, and I'm going, okay. So I guess that means the original people was what? Telepathic? So Gaia, to your point, it's like, yeah, I think that is maybe, yeah. And hopefully they have some enlightenment along the way. Hopefully. So the idea of the dumbing down of our species, it's all interrelated. Whether you look at the conversation of where did our origins come from? How did the current system become the system that it is? Complicated. It's corrupt. It doesn't work. And yet we're the ones who created it. And I love the conversation with Dr. Lin was the fact that, we look for a savior. We look for someone to save our ass because we just screwed this thing up so royally, there's no way we know how to fix it. It's like, do you know the modern day engineer, talking MIT level, right? They do not have the knowledge for the Saturn V rocket, the Apollo program. No, they don't even understand the system. And so that shows you how quickly we lose knowledge. Now, what if this was by design? What does that say? Because granted, there is a part of Homo sapiens sapiens that seem to be evolving faster than the rest of the sapiens. In fact, it could be said that they have already exceeded the limit of the sapiens' capability and capacity. Sounds like the stories of old, doesn't it? Because if that is true, and they got the test scores, and this is true. Each government is working. You heard about the super soldiers. They're way, way beyond that. They want geniuses. They want geniuses that whose brain literally have been manipulated and it's been integrated into this thing we call artificial intelligence, machine learning. It's really what it is. And that if that blending really is taking place, then we are doing exactly what our creators did to us. And I often thought, well, if that's the case, then is this perpetual? Is this how it works? They're rewriting history as you and I speak and listen. I'm of the generation that's on the way out, and it's waiting for the millennials for its way out because after the boomers and millennials are gone, so is history. Or at least the history that we knew as history. No doubt they will 25 years in the future, maybe if we make it beyond that, but let's say we do, I doubt if they're going to really know history from those who actually witnessed it. Think about that. So I have a number of papers that I thought I would start with. And so this is going to be fun because in this, bum, 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 it's all connected. It really is. Makes you really conspiracy thinking. Um, let's see. I want to see where I. All right. So this is a paper. It is the abstract is whether Homo sapiens are dumbing down. This is professor of anthropology, Ralph Holloway, Columbia University. I just wanted to just bring out a little bit of this because I'll let the professor speak. About the only truly definitive position I can take on this trenchant question is that I know I am dumbing down, which is sure to happen at the age of 79, which then raises an interesting possibility. If people dumb down as they age, and as the population of aged souls increases, thanks to various and sundry improvements in health, hardy work worldwide yet, then it surely stands to reason that we are dumbing down. I leave this possibility to the demographers among us. To be a bet persnickety, the question is really very complex and difficult to really answer with certainty. And there are several good reasons why. First, it assumes that we know what is dumb and what is smart, which then leads naturally to value judgments and begs the issue of what matrix to use to make a reasoned judgment. Should we compare IQ scores through the decades? How many populations should be studied? Um, and these making references to both Dr. Lynn and Harvey. Let's see, in 2008, for 192 nations ranked by fertility rates and IQ scores. Now, just think for a second. You work for a government agency or is it a private company? You know, the question that no one has been able to answer is again, what are these data centers doing? But I digress. Um, should we look for something more inclusive, such as G, parentheses, a factor analytic approach to various kinds of intelligence? Jensen's paper of 1998, the first part of Nyberg's 2003, The Scientific Study of General Intelligence. And again, we haven't defined what is consciousness. We haven't really defined what is intelligence. But yet, we're so dumb that we just never give it any thought. We just talk about it. And then we make statements and, yeah. Um, should we accept the dispute of the Flynn effect? Should we compare the crystallized intelligence that our parents and grandparents knew, geography, history, basic math, civics, etc.? Let's stop there for a second. Do you know the problem that we have with the younger generation? The schools stopped teaching civics. And now you have, I think this has been for almost 30 years. Imagine how many high school graduates we've had in the last 30 years that were never taught basic civics. They would have a very difficult time in properly discerning political ideology and the responsibility for that. You see, we live in a culture where we fail to understand the more you know, the more you're responsible for it. And if there's an accountability, a reckoning, how are you going to address it? That you had knowledge that you never shared, you never made an effort. Or let's just say you never made an effort in your life to gain knowledge. What are you guilty of besides ignorance? I'd say you have a charge against your very own species. Ooh, that's harsh. I dig it. Continuing with our own or without the use of Wikipedia, for example. And there's another thing. Wikipedia is not accurate, but yet people, academics, I've seen virtually in every profession, even judiciary, go to Wikipedia. It's the most, well, it's not perfect, and it's predicated upon that people, will put, but people, that's the problem. It's people that are dumb. So if the people are getting dumber, then that would mean that what they write in such things like Wikipedia, for example, what would that mean? Or should we look at their fluid intelligence and somehow compare it to ours? Would it even be possible to do so? Is reliance on technological advance a sign of our personal dumbing down when we try to adapt to new situations? Isn't it odd that they always want to do a software update? As a former CEO of software companies, I can tell you um, there's really no reason for it. And you say, well, why? Well, and now it's happening, is that who's advancing who? Is it the technology or is it the human consumer? Work on that one. Uh, is it the vast amounts of television trivia a signal that our brains are rotting? Can we exist without cell phones, smartphones, tablets, and computers? Do we really need mass higher education certification to keep us as intelligent as we are? Whenever that was? Given the politicians in Congress and their inability to focus on true problems in our society and their lack of responsibility towards issues such as global warming, the debt. Come on, folks, let's just get real. We have a bunch of dumbasses in Congress. They can't do their job. These are adults that are acting as children. They've got the IQ of children. I have said that it needs to be the law that no person can run for public office unless A, they disclose their FICO score. We want to see if they're deadbeats or not. If they can't handle their own money, they sure the hell can't handle the people's money. And that is a true statement. They can't handle the people's money. What have they done? They have frivolously thrown away and made every U.S. citizen a slave. We are slaves to the debt holders. These are intelligent people in Congress. How about the judiciary? We got judges that no longer understand the distinction between ideology and policy. They put politics above the law. Fortuna, the goddess of justice, they've raped her. Folks, we're in deep shit. And then think about, take that same scenario. Now let's take it over to the tech world. This is how fucking dumb the tech world is. You dumbass programmers just wrote yourself out of a freaking career. You wrote a program that is now taking your job. You're irrelevant to society now. What are you going to do? Carpentry work? You see how this is compounding upon, and then let's get into philosophy. Let's get into the esoterics. If we're so dumb about that, which we are, we got dumbasses in Congress that shouldn't be there. We've got a Federal Reserve System that is insane. The purpose of the Federal Reserve is what? To charge us interest on our own money? Insane. Only dumb, stupid people do these things. But let's get over into philosophy, because philosophy has become so fractured that it doesn't even know what it's philosophizing about anymore. So AI comes in and starts giving us a new philosophy. And don't get started on religion. In spite of what the moral code is for religion, religion is really dumb. It gives you, and I thought the conversation with Robert on this was excellent, is that it produces a standard that can never be met. That's pretty dumb. And so you will vote dumb people in. You won't ask the questions. Most people, I've heard people say, well, I don't vote. That's dumb. You need to go take a civics class. There is a responsibility for where you are living. You have a personal responsibility. Because if you don't like the laws and yet you don't participate in that process, you got no bitch. Just saying. Boy, I can see people going, woo. I want to read that again. Given the politicians in Congress, think about it. They have demonstrated they have the inability. Every person in Congress should be nullified out. When they closed the government down, it showed that they had violated their oath of office, that they are completely incompetent of running a corporation. These people can't even run their own personal lives. Hello, Epstein, Pedo Island. Hello, Bill and Hillary. How were those flights? But anyway, um, you see what I'm talking about? I think the professor's onto something. Probably really does hacking AI all over the place. What is he talking about? Um, it is difficult to maintain any sense of an elevated intelligence in our society and the world in general. Look at the UN. What a colossal failure the UN has been. It has stolen trillions of dollars from the poor only to enrich the very few. Have they ever solved anything? No. That building should be torn down and salted, never to have another building or anything grow there. Because look at, if they were so smart, would be living like this today? No. The whole miraculous belongs to the camps of sociology, philosophy, psychology, and perhaps psychiatry. Nevertheless, there are some very strong arguments based on considerable amounts of data that indeed the world is dumbing down. The reactions to these studies have largely been ignored, or they've ignored them or they condemned them using usually without accompanying data. I like to know, what is Harvard doing to solve the world's problem? Harvard, I think all you've done is just added the woes to the world. Let's take any of them. Columbia, let's go with any university. You do all these billion-dollar sports things and you love the football, and you talk about all the advances. Where are the advances? Where are the intelligent graduates bringing forth new ideas, new solutions? No, they are corrupted. As Dr. Lynch said, academia corrupts the mind. It puts it within a very narrow parameter. And anything outside of that is fringe science, pseudoscience. This professor goes on to say, but surely we, biological anthropologists who study human evolution, must know something about this issue. Well, that leads to the second question about the underlying complexity of the question. What can the various matrix about our brains and their evolution and possible devolution through time tell us? In this position paper, I will stick strictly to the matter of brain size and not the brain's organization, since there is little or no information as to how that has changed through time. It is suggested that our brains have reduced in size during the past 20,000 years. Now, folks, think about this. Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, the Denisons, prior genesis of Homo man, their craniums were much larger than ours. Come on, if you got more brain power up there, you can't tell me that these were ignorant people. But anyway, because our small little brains, we think that we're just really smart little mimes, you know? And perhaps mostly so, get this, from about 10,000 years ago with the advent of agriculture and the domestication of plants and animals. That 10,000 year thing. So let's just take a little trip back in time. So we've been studying, we had, I think, one of the best authors on the subject matter, Dr. Lynn on the thing, 10,000 years ago. Well, that kind of lines up, with whatever happened to the earth. Something happened to it, but then there was another us. We magically appeared with the brain capacity of cognitive reasoning and thinking, where we came up with agriculture, astronomy, the wheel, sailing, complex mathematics, algebra, geometry. How'd we do that? 10,000 years ago. And whatever they did to us, whoever, whatever, I have my thoughts, you have yours. We weren't the smartest or the brightest bulb. I think they tried to do something genetically, and I think it's failed. But that's been my contention for some time. Hindenburg, in 1998, wrote that Neanderthals in the upper Palestine, Paleocenal anatomical modern humans, Paleocene, there we go, and cranial capacities larger than current world averages of apparently 1,330 milliliters. And it appears true that there is a relationship between latitude and brain volumes, such that the largest brain volumes ate in very northern latitudes, while decreasing towards the tropics and equator. Now, that's some strange stuff there. Interesting. Indeed, there are plenty of theories out there that it was the adaptations to cold climates that provided a rise in brain volumes during the Paleocene and later. But is there any solid data to show that intelligence and brain size are correlated? Well, indeed there is. Anderson has a review of many studies linking cognitive scores on many tests to MRI derived brain volumes and overall correlations. R is about 0.35, varying between zero point 0.3 and zero point 0.6, depending on the samples. Even meta-analysis exists on this relationship. Of course, these are aggregated statistics, and it remains true that one cannot predict cognitive behavior of individuals based on brain size. Studies have gone further, attempting to discern difference between volumes of gray and white matter and intelligence score. The Gurr team in 1999 at the University of Pennsylvania has consistently shown sex differences in these measures. More research regarding the organization of the brain, in addition to overall size, needs to be done, and herein lies that 800-pound gorilla in the room. How does the brain vary in different ethnic groups beyond sheer size? How has the brain size differed over the last 100 or more years based on the autopsy data that medical examiners will not release? Well, a lot of things that they are not releasing. Um, in conclusion, he basically concludes his paper with the hypothesis that we have indeed been dumbed down. So that brings in other things. Let me see, but I think this is the paper. Yeah. So in this particular paper, excuse me, as I go in here, I want to make sure. So this is the dumbing down of America. And this is a comprehensive study that has been connected, gone on, I think, for nearly 50 some odd years. Coexistence on this tightly knit earth should be viewed as an existence not only without wars, but also without the government telling us how to live, what to say, what to think, what to know, and what not to know. Is that Scholzenstein? Speech given in September 11th, 1973. Why is it that we always go to war? If we're so smart, why do we develop weapons of mass destruction? Why do we develop a system that's designed to where you, if you don't have particularly political, I mean, the right blood type or blood brewery family, or maybe just happen to be a lucky person, that you're in a system that you can never win at? That's what life is right now. You're in a system that has been designed to work against you. And even the measures of success are never come with the pleasures of which success is supposed to bring. Never. But yet we go into this always. We build these weapons of what smart people should be doing is figuring out Tesla's idea of how to bring free electricity to the world. Do you know what that would do to the world? Well, number one, it would collapse the economy. That's why they don't do it. It would collapse governments. It would require a completely new paradigm of thinking. And maybe some of us free thinkers who are fucking smarter than the most people out there, free thinkers are, we could bring a few new ideas to the table. That's why they kill us when new government takes over. It's always the free thinkers that they go after. It's not the religious ones. It's typically the philosophers, the free thinkers. Because we contaminate the others. Because we tell them question everything. But yet, the so-called smart people, right? The ones that say and crave power, they're not even human. So many of the leaders of the world today are soulless. They have no soul. Never did. And yet we are 10,000 years into what you would call this current era. And the system is even more corrupt than it was. And getting back to the Sumerians. So they come in and they have all of this figured out. Now, the odd thing about it, and I can thank Dr. Kramer in his book, um, we've have advanced very little as a society, of laws, of culture. The scary thing about it is that we've almost advanced hardly at all. We've wasted 10,000 years. Humanity. We've wasted it on ideologies that were insane to begin with. Creating religions, creating gods, creating philosophy, creating a science that, is corrupt within itself. And every system is corrupt. But yet, from somehow out of that, we're supposed to be finding enlightenment. We're supposed to be advancing. And now we've created technology that is advancing the dumbing down of us, and eventually they're going to get rid of us. And we'll be so stupid that we won't even know it. We will march step in line right into the slaughterhouse and not say a word. No human said a word. No government leader stood up before the world and said, this AI is not what you think it is. I contend on this channel, and I dare anyone, Musk, how about you? I'd love to bring you in. Why is there no world forum on the ethics and the boundaries of artificial intelligence? You've got $1 trillion, dude. And when you die, you're not taking a penny of it with you. But I offer you an opportunity to come on this channel and discuss these things because nothing is working. And I'm not a pessimist. I'm just trying to be somewhat of a realist. We talk about enlightenment, but I ain't seeing the world getting enlightened. I'm seeing it getting darker and darker. Aristotle said educated men are as much superior to uneducated men as the living are to the dead. How many books do you read? In any given month, how many books do you read? How many, in any given month, how many white papers? How many times do you go out, whether it's academia, whoever you go to? We can't stop. That's why this channel is such a tight-knit group. We challenge each other. But it goes on. For over a 25-year period, the research used in this chronology has been collected from many sources: the United States Department of Education, international agencies, state agencies, the media, concerned educators, parents, legislators, and talented researchers with whom I have worked. In the process of gathering this information, two beliefs that most Americans hold in common became clear. One, if a child can read, write, and compute at a reasonably proficient level, he will be able to do just about anything he wishes, enabling him to control his destiny to the extent that God allows or remains free. Two, providing such basic educational proficiencies is not and should not be an expensive proposition. Since most Americans believe the second premise, that providing basic educational proficiencies is not and should not be an expensive proposition, it becomes obvious that it is only a radical agenda, the purpose of which is to change values, attitudes, which we would call brainwashing. That is the costliest agenda. In other words, brainwashing our schools and universities is what is bankrupting our nation and our children's minds. In 1997, there were 46.4 million public school students. During the 1993 to 94, the latest year, the statistics that were available when this book was written, the average per pupil expenditure was $6,330. No, yeah, I thought I had that right. $6,330 in 1996 consistent dollars. Multiply the number of students by the per pupil expenditure using old-fashioned mathematical procedures for a total K-12 budget per year of $293.7 billion. If one adds the cost of higher education to this figure, one arrives at a total budget per year of over $500 billion. The sorry results of such an incredibly large expenditure, the performance of American students, is discussed in Pursuing Excellence, a study of U.S. 12th grade mathematics and science achievements in international contexts, initial findings from the Third International Mathematics and Science Study, a report from the United States Department of Education. It reads, Achievement of students, key points. U.S. 12th graders scored below the international average and among the lowest of the 21 nations in both mathematics and science, general knowledge, in the final year of the secondary school. Wow, where did the time go? We'll have to continue on this because it's I think as you can see, and have got even more. We're going to get even into it. It just goes on and on and on. In fact, we will tie this in to the AI agenda. But the point is, and again, I don't ever expect these videos to get tens of thousands of views because people don't want to hear this stuff. Those in control don't want people like me or you going out there and telling others about this. But it's obvious that this study that was done back, I think, in 1999, the book we were just reading, look what's happened in 25 years, a quarter of a century. And if it was that bad in 1996, that bad, that the high school graduating class in the United States failed. They were at the bottom. We've never risen below that. In fact, the United States has set new standards of how low the bottom goes. The students of Tonga are of more educated level than the United States. And what we do now is that we have basically graduating high school meals, like the puppy mills. They just throw out the diplomas willy-nilly. You get at a certain age, hey, you're going to get a diploma. You may have failed every freaking subject, you're going to get a diploma. And then, because of DEI, which is such an intelligence approach, you allow those very same, in fact, they couldn't even score on the ACT test if they still do that. And so you bring uneducated people into a so-called higher education system. What happens? The higher education system is brought down and becomes dumber. Well, let's get into religion. Oh, could we get into that? So we got so-called a God that knows everything, omnipresent, omnipotent, omnipresent. You ask me, this is just my opinion. But you know, from the first chapter of the book of Genesis to like the 10th chapter, this God's a dumbass. I mean, for someone or something to be so all powerful and all knowing, it don't know shit. It screwed up so many times that I think it got banned out of the God school or the God group. You know, they said, you are such a dumbass. You go over here and create some. And so it created a whole dumbass universe. I'm kidding you. I'm just kidding you. Come on. But only to a certain level. I mean, it's just true. It's so sad. You know, I used to be involved in politics. I just walked, I still vote and, make myself known because they're always, again, all politicians are liars, but not all liars are politicians. And yet I see the people in these gatherings never ask hard questions. Lynn and I belonged at one time to a group, and I'll go nameless, but there was this I think in fact I think it was a dinner, and we had the Speaker of the House. Yours truly got up, and it was a pretty well full room, over 1,000 people in there. Anyway, I asked the Speaker of the House a very poignant, direct question. Oh, he didn't like that. In fact, when he got off stage, he asked the director of this group, the organization, he says, I thought that this was a friendly audience. Who the hell was that guy? Me. I did that more than once, you know. But yeah, I don't know what else is going on here. Anyway, Gilbert, good to see you. Well, everyone, I have kept you long enough. I could go on this one. But just to kind of wrap it up, it's a sad conclusion. Look at all the stuff that you watch on YouTube. I mean, I have a sense that probably a larger portion of you look at probably more academic than entertainment. But YouTube is, it couldn't exist if it wasn't for some of the dumbass stuff that they show on here. I don't even get on TikTok. My social footprint is about this size right here. It's about as far as I want to go. I have other channels on, Rumble and the rest, but really don't even participate there. And when the time is, when this one is time to shut down, um, you know, if any of you have downloaded, then it will stay on. If not, that'll be the way it is. But we got more time to do it, more time to talk about it. And Gaia, thank you. I just adore you and Paul. You know, these are open-minded people, and as many of you are here. But um, folks, we're in deep trouble. We really are. Uh, Lynn and I have seen this time and time again, where you've got, and I like the fact that you have the youth getting jobs. Back in the day, and I never got there, but I knew other people. They used to have a thing. I think if you were a junior and you had a certain grade point average and a senior, you could go and you work half a day, and which was great because it taught you things about business. It taught you ethics. It taught you morals, other things, and how to work in customer relations and art of communication. I don't know if they still do that or not. I hope they do. I don't know. I tell you how bad it is, folks. And I'm going to go a little bit more because it bothers me. We're in a recession right now. Don't believe what you're reading out there. The amount of people that have lost their job, and by the way, these are not blue collar workers. These are the white collar workers. These are the engineers, the software engineers that were making, a buck 80. Some of them making, 250, and that's 250,000 a year, have lost their jobs. And it's getting now into well over 5, 6 million. And when you have that type of job loss, it begins to have an impact. But here's the thing: recently, because if you own stock, you can actually help you vote on these things. The CEO of Ford stated this: they have 50,000 mechanic jobs they can't fill. The construction industry has tens of thousands, it's into the hundreds of thousands of jobs that Americans won't do. Now, I'm glad that people like Mike Rowe and others that have begun to push this, that, you don't need to go to college. Most people should be going to a trade school. And being a YouTube influencer isn't a career. But that's the problem. The standards have become so low that if you're 50 years old, I feel very, very sorry for you. Because if you are allowed to grow old, you're eventually going to need more health care. It's just the way it works. Unfortunately, what you're going to be encountering is a far different class, league, and educated group than my wife's generation. My wife's generation, that type of nursing is almost non-existent today. The dumbing down. And as we continue to get dumber, who's going to start taking care of people? These seem like fantasies and faraway ideas and thoughts, but they're hardcore reality. And they will be here. I can tell you, I look back in the last 70 years of my life and it's gone like that. And so when I speak about 25, 30 years in the future, it's going to be just like that if we make it that far. All right, you fine people. Um, we really do. And it's only through channels like this, channels that are out there that are free thinkers and question everything. We even question ourselves constantly. Most people don't. And and I can tell you, I know because it happens to me and I know it happens to y'all. If you try to interact with people that, how should we say, are not of a certain free thinking level, you're going to freak their ass out. They'll, number one, they'll call you either a devil, possessed, uh, Satanist, antagonist. Yeah. And they'll look at you really weird. It's like, well, what's wrong with you? Yeah. Now those are the people I'm talking about. We can really do something on that. Stephanie, what do you write? She said there's so much land and properties that aren't in use and they can build. Oh, the United States, if the United States Congress was competent, number one, you have to understand that 37 trillion, Stephanie, imagine what we could have done. They stole that. What do we get for $37 trillion, Americans? That was enough money, by the way, to give every person, every U.S. citizen, you could be living right now in a $3.5 million mansion paid for all the rest of your life, never have to pay taxes. You'd never have to pay anything for groceries, never would have to pay for energy. That's what 37 trillion will help do. But no, we have today a Congress that is so corrupt that they put in special provisions that give them money and they dishonor the veterans. They dishonor the mentally ill. Do you know that what Ronald Reagan left to the legacy of the United States? He closed down all the mental institutions. Why? And they pulled them and put them on the street. Mental health, mental illness today is at a crisis level. But do you see psychiatric hospitals open? No, no. And the fact of the matter is, if we did, they would be overwhelmed. Just saying. But my question to you is, how many times have you called your congressperson? Do you even know their number? Have you ever sent them an email? Have you ever left them a voicemail? See what I'm talking about? Now I can tell you, if you're of a certain political view, sometimes they go, "Oh, I don't like you." But you know what? Republican, Democrat, all the same. And the independents are just smashed in between them. It's my contention that the United States needs to do away with the two-party system. It's failed. We need a representative government that has, coalition governments. I'm not saying that, they're the perfect, but they're far better than what we got here. Because if you can't get together, you don't have a government together. You know what I'm saying? Okay, anyway, I've said enough. I know it's one says, they're going to put you on the list. I've already been on the list. They think I'm crazy. And that's just fine. Because if they think you're crazy, they leave you alone. It's like, oh, that dude's crazy. That's cool. There's an idiom that says crazy like a fox. That's all I got to say. All right, everybody. Much love to you. See you tomorrow. Maybe I might get Mike and Cindy on. It would be a great time since Thursdays are out. And I think Friday I have to take my wife to another thing. But yeah, anyway. So Mr. C says the two-party system is what keeps the media alive. Ain't that the truth? It's the truth. It really is. Yeah. And don't even get started on the media. I mean, what is the media? That's the thing I have asked myself. What does the media actually do besides distort, biased, bigotry? Hell, many of them are absolute racist in many of their political views because if you don't go with their view, they'll call you a racist. And anyway, what the hell is a racist? I always thought the racist was the one who won the race. I mean, aren't we running a race? So for me to be a racist means I'm the fastest. Yeah, I can see it now. All right, everybody. Deborah says that the media is mind control. That's all it is, folks. It is pumping your mind. It's designed to get interaction. And remember, the technology now in the televisions, your smartphones, your Black Mirror boxes, it can read your mind. Try an experiment. Think of something. Be in the same room with a television, your smartphone, whatever it is, and start thinking on one thing. You'd be surprised to see how it will eventually show up. And if you start talking about it, yeah. Um, I love everyone. Hey Trina, I didn't even know that you were there. Thought you were anyway. She's probably out there in California. All right, folks. Next week we'll get with the ladies. Um, Yeah, quantum guy, it is. And that tells you it's like, what? What? It's in the air. Yeah, it's in the air. It's everywhere. All right, much love, ladies and gentlemen. Got to state the obvious first. So help us out. Don't be dumb. Yeah. When I started reading the statistics on it, it really is. And I went, and so let me tell you what I did. And Lynn is my witness. I went in and you pay for get one of these, they test, it's an IQ test, gives you the five different things. And because I just wanted to make sure, I mean, this thing about, as you have somewhat cognitive decline as you get older, I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think you can keep your mind young and fresh, and the only way to do that is to keep a very openness type mind. But you'd be glad to know that everything is okay. Yeah. I ain't going to tell you the score, but it's really good. I just tell you that. And it's odd. I tell you, it's because of groups like y'all. If anything, you stay around us long enough, you're going to start reading stuff. You're just going to start going places like you never said, I never would have gone there. And then all of a sudden you get this knowledge. And now that you got the knowledge, what are you going to do with it? Well, make good use of it. That's what I say. All right, folks, again, I'm out of here. I'm going to shut up. Hello, Grace. How you doing? Uh, oh, okay, Trina. Now I see, sweetie. All right. Hey, Chloe. Chloe's got crystals. Check out her channel on that. Hey, Susan, good to see you. All right, everyone, you'll see me tomorrow for sure, because I've only just begun. Karen Carpenter wasn't the only one that had that song. But ever since that song, the one we've just begun. So room 14, what is it? 1408, I think it is. Yeah, 1405. It's one of the twos. Anyway, it's a good one. Check it out. All right, everybody. Until then.